Alright guys, so we got one thing I can stress you guys really is pre-rig some stuff. Nobody wants to get out here and have a bunch of stuff all over the place, and you're messing around with a bunch of hook bags and stuff like that. Spro sells one of these. It's just a bunch of little foam pucks inside here. And you can pre-do all your trap rigs the way you want them, and now you just got to grab, tie on, be ready. Be ready to go in seconds instead of wait and retying. Your prep work goes into a majority of what you're doing when you're fishing. You prep for a good trip. You plan for all the other stuff in between, the lack of floral, lack of weights, and all that stuff, and you'll be more successful on the water. My setup here is a 1268. It's a pinhead blank, a lot of glass in the rod itself. Trinidad 14. We're using like 30-pound trap leaders with a VMC hook on the back, a little live bait hook. And we're gonna fish some sardine on some trap rig. We do a pretty simple, it's just a 3-way swivel for everything. Put your weight to your 3-way swivel, give yourself a little bit of lead. It's a really simple basic setup. Any of us can do it. We can teach you to tie a snell in a couple minutes in the store. The rest is just, you gotta practice it a little bit to make it perfect. We'll also use like some Trinx 400 stuff, Trinidad 16 narrow. We got a Phoenix M1 right here with a Trinx 400 on it. Same kind of deal, little VMC trap rig setup. And this is all on 25 and 30 pound floral. You don't have, flooral's a little nicer for the halibut that we're doing. They're little toothy critters, so they'll chafe you off. You'll be retying stuff quite often if you do it on mono, but you'll still get bit. We'll get up around the corner here, get into a zone. We're gonna go fish and see if we can pan it out, get you some fish. All right, guys, we're on the backside of Catalina, and we're gonna talk about weight selection real quick before we get started fishing. We're in like 35 feet of water, bouncing back and forth in between here. Current's kind of ripping uphill a little bit, and we're gonna put a little bit heavier of a weight on. Even though we're in some shallower water, we're still gonna go with like a 5-ounce weight or so. We're just using little 4 or 5 ounce torpedoes. I got a couple in my pocket here. How we put these puppies on real quick is I like to do a little perfection loop, so you can just take your weight on and off without having to tie a bunch. And perfection loop works real simple. You just bring a line around, make a big loop, then make another loop around the back side of that big loop here. So you kind of can see there's a loop here and a bigger loop here. That bigger loop you made, you're going to pull it through and hold on to your tag line still, and see that knot kind of cinch up. Now you got a big old loop knot. And that's perfection's loop. And then we'll just cut a little bit of line off here, and we'll go to our 3-way swivel, which we got right here. And I'm not going to make it like a huge length between there, but you'll have, you have a decent amount of space, so you can bounce that weight up and down off the bottom. Make sure you're making contact with the bottom and then pulling up a little bit. We're just gonna tie San Diego, jam real fast. All right. Once you do that, we'll cut the tag lines we got going on here. And then we got a couple rods in the back already out, and then we're going to start fishing some rods off the bow. Let me get a little weight out of my pocket here. It's important when you're fishing on a private boat. You might have, a couple guys on the boat. You got 3 or 4 rods going. Like, give everybody some space, because when you're fishing this trap rig stuff and you're fishing off a 3-way swivel or even one of those Poochie weight slides, you got to give everybody some space so you don't start getting all tangled up, and now you got a whole mess you're dealing with, and it's just, nobody wants to have to deal with all that. If you do it right, you can have like 4 rods out at a time and be covering some ground and really upping your chances at getting a personal best or just a limited halibut. So see, I just kind of real quick loop that on there. And you just got a loop, and you can take it off real easy if you want to. Just grab the loop. Then you go back down below. And now you don't, you can take your weight off and you won't have a weight slamming around all over the boat, damaging gel coat, or if you're on a sport boat doing this, they won't be real pissed when you're smacking the boat. So you just go through, around the weight, and then you'll pull it tight like that. So we'll go to the back of the boat real quick, get a nice little piece of bait, and then we'll show you how to put the trap rig on. All right, guys, so we're back at the bait tank. We're gonna grab a nice little piece of bait out of the tank here. Try not to like death grip these things when you're grabbing them too. You don't want to descale them and get them all messed up and stuff. I just like kind of grab by the gills there. And then you're gonna go through the nose, and then you take the back hook here, and you can either go down below here by the anal fin, or some guys like to go through the top up here. Either way is fine. Put your hook through. Nice little halibut. So it's one of those things where we said it's nice to try and sometimes go inside a little bit, right? We just made a little move from the deep over to the inside, and we got ourselves a nice little halibut. You want to hand me the net real quick, Kev? And again, we didn't have a ton of drag on this fish. We didn't have, you know, real soft rods. I mean, it's mostly glass on the tip of the rod. You can see it bends real easy. So another one you really should have on the boat at all times is a nice little halibut net. See if we can manage to net our own fish real quick. All right. So this is one of those, it's really important to keep a nice soft halibut net. These aren't like made of a bunch of nylon mono or anything like that, like you use for squid. It's real soft. It keeps the halibut's tail from splitting, and then they get disease. You know, you want to try and like preserve the fishery you're in. So we always want to make sure we're keeping the legal fish and we're not tearing up the fish and then just, you know, punting it back in the ocean. It's nice to have a nice long nose pair of pliers too, because I don't know if you can see super well, but these guys are pretty toothy, and he ain't afraid to get you when he can. So make sure we get this guy. And that was one of those where he was literally, one hook was in the mouth when I got him into the net, and one hook was on the outside of the face. So it really wasn't going anywhere. That's a nice, beautiful fish. You can get a good look at those teeth. Yeah, that's why we use like 30-pound, 40-pound line, especially on your trailer hook for that trap rig. We'll measure this puppy up, make sure it's legal and you're not breaking any rules, and then if it's not, we'll let her go and keep fishing. Sometimes you need the net, and sometimes you get one and you know that sucker's legal and it's time to break out the gaff. We got on the board again here, and there's another one of the, it's a good size halibut too. See, but there's another perfect instance where you look at it and the J-hook wasn't in the corner of the mouth, but it was kind of hanging out like that, and your trap hook literally is down the gullet right there, and that's all that was holding that fish on there. So there's another good reason. Always fish a trap hook. Yeah, here's another nice one here on the backside of Catalina. We're gonna dress this fish up, and then we'll go put him in the kill bag. So we'll go do a once over on gear again on what we were using. The last few fish we got, we're using, you know, this is 50-pound Max Quattro. It's on a Trinidad 14. Other rod we have is a Trinidad 14, and I think that's on a D8. You know, all rods built in our rod shop over at Mountain Tackle. Same reels we all sell at Mountain Tackle. The 50-pound Max Quattro, just you fit a good amount on a Trinidad 14, not necessarily that we need a ton for what we're doing right here. We're in shallow water, You know, these fish aren't taking huge major runs on us, but you still want enough line on everything so that you can have a peace of mind to work through things slowly. Don't rush through catching all these fish. You try and, you know, horse a fish in, because it's only going to end in heartbreak usually. You know, again, all this stuff's like real low drag. Line's not even crackling as it's coming off the reel here. And all the leader line we were using was between 25 and 30 in shallow. It's we're using a BMC size 8 and 6 for the treble hook, and then we're using a Owner Gorilla Light or Gorilla Hook, and those are all size like 2s on that one for a J hook. And again, just don't be afraid to change your baits. Check your baits frequently. You're fishing in shallow enough that it doesn't matter. You're only coming up 13 feet where we're at right now. We're coming up 13, 20 feet tops where we've been fishing today, mostly, and catching fish at anyways. So sometimes when you're fishing the trap rig and stuff, because there's back pressure, you know, you've got a hook and a line in the back of the bait, and sometimes it pulls that nose hook that you have in, and kind of goes through the eye or goes down below the lip, and now you got like a wonky looking bait that's just kind of floating there all sideways and looking all weird, and that's not a good bait presentation. Not that halibut are particularly picky on a lot of that stuff, but you want to have the best chances possible, right? And you want to make sure that your bait's presented well, because that can make or break a day for you sometimes. But yeah, make sure you change your baits, check your baits, use the proper gear. Don't go out with half-ass gear, because it's not going to end well, man. Out of all the braids we use, Power Pro and Diamond are the most consistent in terms of braid quality and thinness. J braid's great too. It's a little bit thicker. Diamond's great. It's a little bit thicker than Power Pro, but you know, the common consensus, everybody knows the Power Pro is the thinnest line. You're going to fit the most on your reel. Sometimes that just helps. It helps give you a peace of mind. It may not help in terms of like a fish ran super far, but it helps you calm down throughout a fight to make sure that you're not, you know, wasting. Oh, and we're there. Again, it's the same thing we're going through. You're not pulling super hard. It's a super soft rod. We don't have a ton of drag on it. If it wants to run, let it run. This one didn't feel particularly big, but yeah, we got a little guy on there. This one was hooked on the front hook on the J hook. It actually ate that part, but it's not a legal fish. I'm gonna let him go. We're gonna get back at it. You're looking at a piece of live bait and you want to try and find the best quality one out of the tank you can. It's not the one that's easiest to grab usually, because that one's usually probably half dead or not that great in general. I'll grab a piece out of the tank here. You can kind of, you can see this guy. You know, they're pretty slimy. This one's a little roughed up, right? But he's not horrible. Then you got this guy right here. He's hard to grab. Look at him getting all crazy. I don't want to You got a really nice piece of live bait. He's all shiny, he's not all roughed up, not all bloody, no bloody nose or anything like that. That's a really good piece of bait. He's fiery, he was hard to grab, he's a little firecracker piece of bait. It makes a huge deal. Again, halibut they're ambush predators. You probably put a rashed up piece of bait or a dead piece of bait in front of their face and they'll probably eat it, but your odds are better with better bait selection.